The ECI is quite a remarkable place, really. Sometimes there's a bit of a distance between university environmental research and the environmental challenges, the challenges of global environmental change, which we confront in the real world, if you like. I see the ECI very much as helping to bridge that gap. Environmental research is quite different to some areas of university research, which maybe leads to patents and gadgets and so on. The way in which environmental research makes a difference is by helping people to understand impacts and risks so that they can modify policy and business processes in order to minimize and manage those risks, and by pointing out and helping to understand future changes and opportunity, and providing the knowledge and the tools which enable people to understand what the future holds. Looking not too far into the future, the planet will have another 1 billion people on it by 2025, and increasing wealth, which is welcome in poor countries of the world, does mean that people are demanding more food, so there will be more population demanding more food. So the issues of food insecurity, which are very closely linked to water insecurity, will go increasingly high on the agenda, and we observe that already. And that interplays also with issues of energy security. All of that is played out against a backdrop of a changing climate. The prospects for greenhouse gas emissions are disturbing given the trajectory we're on at the moment. We don't know precisely where we will end up in terms of a changed climate, but that is bound to add to these other human-related environmental stressors. The ECI takes a very interdisciplinary approach to responding to the challenges of environmental change, and we work on a continuum which goes from the fundamental science, for example, of climate and ecosystems, through to looking at, in more applied terms, at risks and impacts and future changes. And then there's a large area of our research which is to do with interacting with end users, and making sure that our work is taken up and used in practice. We have strong partners in government and in business, and the way in which we have an impact is by having sustained partnerships. So working closely with the right individuals within organizations, understanding the problems which they're seeking to address, and orientating our research programs towards addressing those problems. So within government departments, we work with the Department for Energy and Climate Change, the Department for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. Our work on infrastructure systems is working closely with the Treasury. And in business, we have relationships with multinationals, for example, in relation to energy supply and demand, in relation to water and food and forestry. Once again, working very closely with them to identify shared problems and develop shared research programs. And we also have considerable expertise in working with communities, sometimes with NGOs, sometimes with local authorities and community groups, to work at the level of individual behaviours and how behaviours can be orientated towards more environmentally oriented lifestyles. In my own work, I've been working on developing methodology for flood risk assessment for 20 years or so. And actually the change which has taken place in the UK, in Europe, around the world, in terms of the way in which we assess the risks of floods and then make decisions about them, has been remarkable on that timescale. In fact, the uptake of the original work we did on national scale risk assessment was quite alarmingly rapid, in the sense that we knew about its deficiencies as well as its advantages. But once one develops a piece of science which actually fills a specific need and provides insights which either people recognize they had a knowledge gap, or maybe they didn't even recognize the knowledge gap, and only when they get the piece of knowledge that fills it, they recognize how useful it is. That I think is the way in which we characterize our work, in looking ahead at the problems and then trying to develop the knowledge which addresses those problems and informs decision making.